So with our lovely Miss Jojo, I wanted to try a little bit with some novelty items with her. I'm just going to move this it was a little bit out of range. So you can sometimes make things like this also for your puppy. So I know you just, again, brought home a new little lab puppy. So I know it can be, though, beneficial to work everybody a little bit. So remember, as dogs are aging, they also will, of course, still need some venues for experiences and building confidence and keeping up with their skill set. So for our gorgeous gal, there is, for example, the little jump. Again, I don't have it gigantic. It's not about, again, how big it is. It's more just like the fun of something new. So we're going to see if, again, ready, Jojo? So there's obviously right here, yes. So she sometimes is also not really offended by like the novel textures, which is great. Some puppies, like you might find with the lab puppy, as you're trying novelty in the beginning, he's either oblivious or he's a little unsure. So the benefit of sometimes just trying some of these new things is you're just building up comfort and confidence in trying to do something novel. So for our gorgeous gal, again, just like I did earlier with the bowl, with our handsome Mr. A, we may find that for our little lady, if she's never really done much with paws up or step up, no worries. But it could be another great venue for her to practice sometimes applying a little bit that front end onto something novel. So she's like, what the heck is the point of this? So if, again, your puppy's ever a little unsure about something, don't force it. Sometimes it can be nice also to let them explore and go at their range of comfort and ability. Miss Jojo says, gosh darn it, I'd rather be a naked woman. So we might try again, plopping in some treats. If she doesn't feel comfortable hopping in, again, I wouldn't force the situation, but I just want her to be able to try and figure it out a little bit. So the more she has to think about using her body and her mind and figuring out puzzles, this is another great way to give another venue for experiences and for an out that could also both mentally and physically get your babe a little tired in all the right ways. So experiencing sort of novelty and working out puzzles, really beneficial for a lot of the babes. Ready? You know, poor Mr. E says, gosh darn it, I swear you're going to be playing all by himself or all by myself over here with no flirt pull for him. So let's say right here she's checking out the jumps. I'm just going to give her a little tidbit for checking it out and sort of going and exploring it. If she's a little bit unsure, ready? I sometimes like to show the puppy the food and then toss and then see if they can leap over to go find it. Nice job. Ready? Jojo. Nice. Look at you, you brilliant woman. So I'm not trying to make this into so difficult of a moment that she doesn't feel comfortable trying it. She actually really likes going in this little bucket too. So if, let's say, for example, if you can't see her as well, I might just move it a little closer and we'll take a break from the jump for a second. So sometimes having like a bin, and you can actually, for example, put in other items, like it could be some toys, it could be some water bottles, things that you'd like to have them either make noise or movement or distractions. So now as your babe is foraging and finding those snacks in the bucket, they can also be moving things around with their nose or their body. So for the puppy's sake, it could be another great way to add in novelty in the sense of foraging and then finding snacks, but also now he's moving things around. He's making crunchy noises and it's no big deal. It's paired with something fun. So again, we might try again a little find it in our bucket. Nice. She's doing very nicely, just hopping on in. This could be also how you could practice. I know you mentioned getting a little kiddie pool for your handsome guy. So I'm not saying he has to be right into the water factor. You may find what might be helpful for him is start with the pool empty and just do some of these fun foraging. Oh my goodness, we forgot to chew that last one. Fun foraging adventures. And then that way, as he's just searching for the crumbs and finding some goodies, it's not too overwhelming or too stressful. And then of course they can hop out at their leisure. So if you find the pool is maybe too big or too deep, sometimes even just getting an old Tupperware container or like a bin and practice a little bit with something like this could be really helpful. So we'll go ahead, we'll just move this one out of the way again, and we'll try a little bit with some of that novelty once more for our gorgeous gal. So she didn't seem to care, for example, with the, sort of silvery, this is again for their car, so it doesn't get quite as warm. Ready, Jojo? So I might do a little name recognition with a little positive interrupter. She's like, but I like that bin. And feed her for that lovely check-in. She's like, I'm going back into the bin. There's a few crumbs she says she missed. So you can see how she's a lot more comfortable now hopping in the bin than she was when she first checked it out. So a lot of times, the more we include some novelty into our everyday experiences, the less novelty down the road seems overwhelming or scary. This is especially important for puppies going into young adulthood, like into adolescence. Ready, Jojo? Nice, great job, ma'am. Because if, let's say, the only time, like I mentioned a little earlier for Mr. A, if the only time they're getting novel experiences is when they're little, what happens as they hit adolescence? Will they still feel just as comfortable maintaining that novelty feeling of safety? Nice job. So again, we might do another little tossing. Ready? And just get her comfortable leaping. Nice. And again, it's more just for the fun of the factor of the equipment and just the novelty. It doesn't have to be like she's going to go compete in agility. So, but remember, even if you're doing like agility items for fun, you do want to be careful that what you're doing is not too strenuous or potentially could injure the pup. So obviously when it comes to babies, they're not fully developed, and again, being a lab puppy till about maybe 18 months to 2 years of age. So by that point, then their joints and ligaments are fully developed. Ready, Jojo? And then at that point, they'd be much more comfortable and less likely for injury. So right here, I just lost her because she's itchy. Ready? So I'm gonna see if I can go get her attention. I just don't want her knocking over the camera. Ready, cuteness? This way. She's like, that seems silly. So we'll do another little jump for the snack. She's like, oh, really? Here, what if we do another little find it? There you go, madam. So, but doing some of this including of novelty could be great for any venue for puppies to adults. Ready? So we'll try a little bit, maybe see if we can get our gorgeous gal to check out this funny bowl. So if she's a little bit unsure, I should have grabbed my flat targets because I know for some of them, if they've never done paws up or step up, having a flat target first can be easier. But we'll work on this also in the class with the puppy. So even though Miss J doesn't always necessarily do all the skills here, maybe the puppy might do some and be more comfortable than her and vice versa. So, but for our gorgeous gal, if let's say I was going to try again, let's say the bowl is going to be something I want to try for a moment. I'm just going to go ahead and bring it a little closer so everybody can see it a little bit. Oh, nice job, cuteness. So let's say the bowl might be something we're going to build up to. I'm just going to feed a couple lovely snacks on top of the item to build up value. And then I'm going to see if I can, just like with Mr. A, how we got those paws up or step up, see if we can start to get some of those behaviors. She's going to go for a quick little drink, though. She's been doing so much good work. So she's tanking up with a little bit of water. And then we'll try a little bit with our paws up or step up. So again, the many reasons behind this could be beneficial for her is getting the hind end and front end awareness. Mr. E says, why aren't you playing with me? Ready, Jojo? Nice, great name recognition. So right there, gorgeous. So, but remember, we don't have to go right into pivoting if that's a little bit harder for her. I just want to see if I could try to get her to lure the front end onto this bowl. If she doesn't quite rock it, no big deal. Ready? We'll try a little bit with some stinkier snacks. She's like, that seems really silly, lady. So remember how just because you give something a try doesn't mean it's going to always pan out the way you were hoping. So remember, it's kind of a two-way street. So if she says, I don't quite get it, don't worry if it doesn't come out as beautiful as you were hoping. You might have to do sort of starting points that are softer. So if, let's say, for example, she's a little bit unsure about the bowl, she might do better with a flat target and build up to this bowl too. So, but maybe what I'll try is I'll maybe grab for the raised cot and see if that seems a little bit easier because it's a much larger target. So I'm just going to move the jumps just out of range for a second. We'll plop out this lovely little cot and we'll see if she goes into jumping up onto that bad boy. So when you're trying for some of these new skills, sometimes the sizing of the item could be a little too overwhelming. So nice. So this does not seem quite as weird to put your whole body onto an item. So sometimes when you're, poor Ethan says, why are we not playing again, ma'am? So, but the whole point of trying, oh my goodness, chewing is still optional. So, but the whole point, and let me just see if I can toss a few items for Mr. E. Ready? Ethan, here, find it. Good job. So let's say for our gorgeous gal, starting off with a target that's a bit larger could be easier than going for the smaller paws up or step up. But I know with Mr. A, you saw how you could work it. So right there, you could mark the moment if you weren't blabbing and then feed her for any time she puts her body onto that item. She's like, well, that seems silly. So if, let's say, for example, ready? Jojo. Nice, great name recognition. So let's say with Miss J, we might try a little bit where I have this bowl and I'm going to see if I can get her to maybe walk onto the bowl to then walk onto the bed. She's like, that seems really silly. What do you think? She's like, these bowls are for silly people and silly dogs. There we go. She's like, the bed's much more comfortable. So, but maybe the next time too, is I would have brought out my flat target, see if we could get that, and then eventually put the flat target on top of the bowl, but it's all the way put away, so not a big deal. So, but with our gorgeous gal, making sure that we're including her in some of the novelty, even if it's just mostly puppy practicing and then we rotate through the adult dogs. It's just another great way to keep them on their toes and a great way for, again, sort of finesse for their body and their minds. But Miss J really did a really nice job throughout her time at the doggy day school. I know today is their last session of the 4. Two guys, if they're taking a breather, perfectly fine, so no pressure. There is also the structured play, which some could enjoy. Or, for example, you can always join other programs down the road, but no pressure. So Miss J says, I've had it. I need to take a break. Maybe she needs a restroom break. But she did a really good job for her 4 sessions at doggy day school. Ready, Jojo? Come. What a good girl. What a smart girl. That was lovely. So we'll give our little Miss J a little break. Maybe she can do a couple little find-its. Ready? Do some find-its on the funny bed. Good job. But we'll give her a little break and we'll continue with some of the other babes.